Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's webinar will be about creating art for tattoos in Clip Studio Paint, presented by Bryan Sánchez. Before we begin the webinar, there are some housekeeping items that we'd like to go through. The webinar will be approximately 1 hour long. All attendees will be muted. Question and answer session will be during the last 15 minutes of the webinar. Attendees can ask questions in the GoToWebinar question box right away. Due to time constraints, not all questions will be answered. The webinar will be recorded. The recording will be shared on social media and will be sent via email to all registrants and attendees. The panelists for this webinar are Mario Quiñones, myself, Joanna Brower, and Bryan Sánchez M. For those of you who connect with us for the very first time or have never heard about Clip Studio Paint, Clip Studio Paint is your all-in-one solution for stunning, ready-to-publish illustrations, comics, manga, and animations. Learn more at clipstudio.net/n and graphicsly.com. If you want to interact with us during the webinar, we encourage you to share your Instagram stories. Please tag us as #webinar at Bryan_Sánchez M, at Graphicsly, at Welcome, and at Clip Studio Official. We'll be sharing your stories. Bryan is an artist, art director, muralist, and Colombian tattoo artist. Bryan is one of Colombia's most important and internationally renowned urban artists working with murals and tattoos, focusing in topics related to endangered fauna, its awareness, and conservation. With a deep interest in social activities, he has used his work as a transformation tool for vulnerable communities, leading the project #El arte salvará el mundo. With his unique tattoo style, Bryan has become the first Latin American artist with his own set of inks with the support of Eternal Ink, tattoo's most important ink company in the world. He has also collaborated with other distinguished brands such as Sailor Jerry, Levi's, Quicksilver, and Skullcandy. So with that, I'll leave you with Bryan and his presentation, Creating Art for Tattoos in Clip Studio Paint. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here today, sharing with you a couple of my artistic process. I'm gonna show you how it's gonna be the process today. I'm gonna prepare my tattoo for today, and it's gonna be a frog. So I'm gonna share with you a couple of details and a couple of tips about how I prepare my designs using Clever Studio. The first thing I will show you my work. This is my Instagram. You can see. If I go super fast, please let me know and I will try to go slow. This is my Instagram. You can see my work here. You can prepare a couple of questions at the end of the webinar, and please welcome. So today I'm gonna work with a frog. One of the most important things for me about tattooing and part of the process is involve the client in the process. So this is one of the pictures that the client sent me, and especially this one is some kind of hard because you see it's a lot of black and a lot of, even if my specialty is the colors, I always trying to find a way to make the tattoo readable. So, and that's something super important because there is a lot of really, really good artists and new artists that are doing amazing things right now, but they don't really understand that tattooing is different. The skin is different than paper, right? Because the tattoo is gonna age, and that's how we see people, everybody, in a lot of really good tattoos and super small and tiny tattoos that look super perfect in the beginning and they look perfect for the picture, but months later the tattoo is gonna be just a stain because we need to understand how the skin is gonna how the tattoo is gonna age with the skin. So when I'm tattooing, I always try to think that how my tattoo is gonna look in 5 years, 10 years. So how gonna make that the tattoo still readable with the time? So with this special case, I will try to find a way to make it readable. And with this particular frog, I need to show the people, and when the people see the tattoo, I need the people see that this is a tiny tattoo, because a tiny frog, right? Because if we don't have the context of the picture, we don't realize, and we can't imagine how's the real size of the frog. And these frogs are really small. They are tiny as a nail. So I'm gonna show you. Like, this is the first picture. This is the placement that we are going to work. Normally, when people send me the application for getting one of my tattoos, this is what I ask. I ask for a couple of reference pictures of what they want, and a couple of pictures of the placement that they want to get the tattoo. With that, I can see the skin tone, the skin condition. If they have something special, I can see, and I can ask them before to getting the tattoo and preparing the composition, thinking about how it's gonna look with, if they have any other tattoos close by. So this is important. This is something that I always talk about, how important is the client in the process. Normally people think that, okay, a tattoo is a picture and we're gonna put a sticker in there, and that's it. And we need to understand how is the body, how the body flows, and how the tattoo is gonna flow with the body. So I have the picture, and I have the placement. So when I start thinking about the idea that, oh, I'm gonna show you a couple of details more. That is something really important for me to explain, because I see a lot of tattoos that they have the wrong direction. They go to the opposite direction, and the tattoo looks weird when that happens. So normally the idea is like, when the people is straight, the tattoo is looking forward. It's looking straight as the body. So normally I always thinking about how the body flows, and making the lines in the correct direction of the how the tattoo is gonna be in the correct direction. So example, I see a lot normally, and this is a common mistake that people, when he's putting the tattoo on the skin, is like they put it in the opposite way. Especially, as example, here in the forearms, people make I don't know, like the frog. As example, if we put the frog here, we put it like this way, it's opposite, and it's looking back. So it's not the right thing. Is like, if we're gonna have the tattoo is gonna be here, we need to put the tattoo in the face has to be in this direction, right? This is supposed to be has to be in this direction. And if it's in the inner part of the forearm, we need to think that the tattoo is coming up from the back, and so this will be the right direction of the tattoo. It's like trying to make a fast sketch, but showing you the right direction of the image. So normally I can send this picture after the webinar to keep this example, how is the right direction of the tattoo, where the tattoo must to go. Okay, and when I'm preparing the idea, so he sent me this picture, so I have to look more reference about how's the, as example, here we have the eye is really dark, so I need to look for more. Where is the frog? No, sorry. So I researched for more, especially because it's gonna be, this frog is really colorful, so I need to look details and reference of the color palette that I'm gonna use. because as example, I can use this one, but this is really monochromatic, and I like these details. But with this frog, as example, if we are talking about a small frog, these details, we're gonna lose a lot of these details in the future. So I have to avoid them, or at least make it simple, make it more readable. As I said before, thinking about the tattoo in the future. If we make a illustration about this on paper, it's gonna be perfect because we can take advantage of all details and of the color. But if we put this small frog in a tattoo, it's gonna be a mess in a couple of years or even months. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the frogs, looking details, looking, as example, the pride of the eyes, like how many fingers, and the other thing is the context of the where, yeah. So I'm looking for the context, because with that we're gonna have more colors, and we're gonna complement the colors in the background. We're gonna see how we're gonna prepare the colors and how we're gonna prepare the composition, because if we look for frog, okay, we have this that is really popular. We look for frog tattoos. I don't really like this, as example, these frogs that they don't have any context of the placement. They're just putting there like a sticker or like this. So it's like I always trying to play with the background and with the context of the animal or the element that I will prepare, and with that I will have a color reference of the color palette that I'm gonna use. And especially in this case, it's important to have the context, because we need to make the difference between this size of frog and this size of frog. If we don't have some point of reference, we can see and we can talk about the difference of the sizes. So it's like that's why it's important to make a composition that we can see the scale of the element that we're gonna prepare. So after having these references and reference of the frogs and the placement that we're gonna place the tattoo, I prepared this composition. I will show you since the beginning, and I'm still working on that. So I'm gonna work on that later. So this is the composition that I was preparing. I put this big flower that is like a regular size flower, but with that we have we have how to compare the size of the frog and compare with the flower, right? So it's important to make the composition more, I don't know, more realistic, because if not, we will have like a big frog. So it's like this is the main composition. My idea is put the composition like this. It's gonna be something like this, like putting the flower in the back, and with that, the frog is gonna be looking forward. Because if we put the flower here and we put the frog in here, it's gonna be around the arm, but when we see the inner part of the arm, the frog is gonna be looking backward. So it's not gonna look cool, right? It's gonna look weird. So this is how I decide to put the composition since the backward, to have the frog looking, because the frog is even if it's small, is the main element of this composition. So you start with this, and with the idea of them having the flower that simple, as you can see in my tattoos. I will show you a couple of my tattoos like this. This is a small bird, so I put the branch to make the to have a point of reference of the size of the bird. And this one, especially with this one, I will have this as example. I start with this one. The main idea of my client was having a rhino and have a bird. But if we put all the big size of the rhino, you can see that the eyes are super small. So after a couple of years, we can see we can even see the eye, because the eye will disappear if we put all the rhino, and the eye will be a dot, just a dot, and it's gonna disappear. And even with that, the bird will be something just like a small stain. So I changed the design and I prepared just the head to have enough space to put the bird with a regular size, and the main thing that will be the head of the rhino. Normally, I like to play with the context, as I told you. I was preparing like these sunflowers, when I use the reference and the context of the color, and I playing with the greens of the regular sunflower field, to have something to put in the background, and to have something to make like the composition with a natural color palette. Let me show a couple more examples. Like as example, I will show you this one. I always use for my color palette the reference of the element that I'm tattooing. When this one, with this hummingbird, I was playing with the blue in the background to have the reference of the sky, right? To have the reference of the color palette of the sky, and like I have a little brown here, but it's turning little to red because that's the complement of green. So with that, we have a more natural and more interesting color harmony. And I want to show you something really interesting. As example, with this one, if I'm doing a whale, I play with a lot of blues to have the reference of water. So because one of the mistakes about watercolor, that is my tattoo style, is people thinking that it's a vomit of colors and trying to put all the colors in the same tattoo, and is normally is not the right way to do it. So normally my recommendation is to think about the context of the tattoo that we're doing. Like this one, I always, when I'm doing birds, I try to play with the blues and the green that are part of the context of the birds. Okay, we can continue. So we're playing with this detail. This is the real color of the flower, but I changed it a little to make the frog pop up more. So I put it like this color that's gonna be like a little orange, but it's gonna flow more to the greens. And I decided to put some other branch with green in the background that will be complement of the red that we have in the frog. So when I prepare a tattoo, so we have the first image, the composition that we prepared, and you can see the layers my layers of the beginning. I start with the basic lines. I always turn down the opacity a little to make the tattoo more clear, obviously. And I start with basic lines. Like these are the basic lines of the element that with these basic lines, we will do the element readable, right? With this, we can see, even with these simple lines, we can see that it's a flower, right? And this is the other elements of background that I'm gonna add to that. So it's gonna be like this. I was looking, I will show you the reference picture of that. Oh yeah, we have it here. Like I'm playing with this element, with this branch. So I decided to use this reference and I put it in the background. At the end of the tattoo, I will use these lines for making green to complement the red and the color that I will use for the frog. So I start with the basic lines of the frog. So with this, we have like, at least we have a readable composition. This is really, really simple. One of the things and of the tips of my style is like I always trying to avoid to be realistic. I always trying to avoid to have something perfect. I always trying to destroy the lines of the tattoos, and it's right now it's part of my signature. It's like having something like this is a really good example. This is a heel tattoo. You can see like there's a lot of sketchy lines to destroy, but you still can see the wings, the head, and like the body, and like you can see like the color is still solid. I always have complaints or critics about watercolor. People say like, yeah, the watercolor is not gonna last as other styles, but for me, it's not about the style. You can be a good tattoo artist, or you can be a good artist, and it doesn't matter the style. The most important thing about tattooing is being solid, having a good application of the ink that you're using and understand how the skin is gonna work, where's the placement, and how you're gonna put the needle in each placement. But the most important thing at the end is being solid. It's not about the style. You can find a lot of black and gray tattoos that are really washy, and it doesn't matter the style. It can be realism, it can be traditional, it can be um, black and gray. It doesn't matter. So for me, the big recommendation and my suggestion is like being solid. That's the most important thing about a tattoo. And the contrast is like, as example for me, that I use a lot of colors, and like I don't really respect the traditional color palette of the elements. The most important thing is use the contrast to show where is in the background, which is the layer of the back, which is in the main layer, which is in the front, etc., etc. So with this, we have the two elements. They are readable. You can see something that you can see here with these leaves. Like you will read the tattoo like this. I'm gonna use it here. The first thing you see is this is the point where you start, and you will read the tattoo here. So we have the branching here. So this is the first element that you will see when you're seeing the tattoo. And the composition, it will be make it like this is gonna pop. The frog is gonna pop because it's like you have all the air in this area, this empty air that we will use just with the greens of the leaves and the little watercolor blue that I will use in the background. Really, a color that I use that is the snowflakes. And with that, all the empty space and the soft and clear space that we have here, again, because we have a lot of lines, so all the empty space that we have here and all this air is gonna make a really interesting point that make you see this a lot. So when you see this empty space and you see this complex element, so this is how you will read the tattoo. So this is something interesting about the composition, how you're gonna make the tattoo look interesting and still readable. You can see here that here we have the flower with all the leaves in here in the middle. You can still see the pop, even with the same color that we have here. This little blue that we have here makes the tattoo pops. Okay, so we have this part. We have the frog and we have the flower and we have the composition ready. And after that, I start adding more lines and more sketchy lines and playing with the textures. Like this is a really fast tattoo. And I play with the contrast, as I told you before, like with these texture elements, with these textures to make like really make it like a sketch, like a fast sketch of the tattoo that we're working on. So always as example here, we can have like the reference of the, so you know that we have these dark areas in here. So with this, when we off this layer, we can see all the background here, all the black area that we have here, make this part, these little elements pop up more, right? And this is still a sketch. I used to use the G pen because it gives me a lot of freedom when I'm working on the sketchy lines. It's like all these lines, thick and thin lines, help me a lot for my sketches. And it's really interesting because when I started doing like this, I didn't start because it was something like, okay, this style is gonna be popular or something. It's because I don't have patience. So I always trying to do something and I want to see how it's gonna be finished. So I always was working on this and I didn't work with oils because I don't have the patience to wait until the layer is dry. So I always, when I'm painting, I put a layer and I put another layer, and so that makes the paint drips, and that's becoming my style but it was something really natural and not because I was looking for that. So I realized like, okay, this will be interesting and this will be interesting for my designs. I will try to do this fast because we only have 1 hour. I will try to cover all the details in this fast webinar. But you can see my work and you can prepare a couple of questions. And if not, at the end, I will share my email and you can send me all the questions and everything that you want to know. So the other important thing about tattooing and the difference between tattoos and illustration and other things is like, for me, and this is a really personal opinion, we need black for tattooing. We need to have the black outline to make the tattoo last more and to make the tattoo pop up some more and contain the other colors. You know that there are colors that disappear in the time. So if we have black, even with the tattoo is getting old, we can still see the colors. There was a couple of really interesting challenges a couple of years ago about 10 years tattoo challenge or something like that. And it was about posting picture of your heel tattoos. That was really interesting because you can find a lot of people showing really bad tattoos and other people showing a really nice heel tattoos. The other important thing and the other thing that you must do to explain to your client is like, it's their responsibility to make a good healing process of the tattoo, because it's like, I think it's 50-50% of the success of a good tattoo. If you do a super good job but client go to beach day after, you at the end you will have a really bad tattoo. The other tip that I can share with you is like, don't look only for tattoos. Go to reference outside tattooing. Look for pictures, for movies, for paintings, for photography, you can see a lot, you can have a lot of reference, and that will help you to make something really different. That is, I think that's the most important thing about being an artist. It's not just to do something correct, it's just to do something that people will talk about. That is something that I will talk about that in my seminars, because my style is really, really, I can see particular, but when I talk with people, it's like you can like or dislike this thing, but at least you will remember it. This is pretty much. So with that, we have part of the composition. And so I added like the first layer, I call it basic lines. That is like the lines that I show you at the beginning. The basic lines of the frog. So the sketch, that is the main part of my style to make the tattoo something different. This is extra lines. I always add a couple of layers with more texture. So even like at these points, I'm happy with what I have right now. So, but I will add a couple more to see what is happening. And if I don't like it, I still have the first layer of the sketches. Oh my God, the time is running fast. So I will show you the other tool that I use are the dots. That will be for my something that in tattoo we call pepper or dots. So this helps me also to give an extra texture to the design. And with this, we have extra background and extra contrast in here. If I need something, I'm going to look for the other textures and see details that I can use. As example, the yellow that we will have here, I will use it later. Where as example, I show you the bright of the eyes and all those things I will use later for the design. And something that people are waiting for is how I use the colors. So if you're new in this, I will show you how I use like this is the color palette that we develop with Eternal Ink for watercolor. The specialty of this thing is like a thinner consistency of color that will be able to mix it to create new colors. So I translate all these colors, all the color of the inks to my color palette, and I create my digital Bryan Sánchez M color palette. So when I'm tattooing, I have this. I use the opaque watercolor of the transparent watercolor when I'm gonna use background, and I start playing with the wait. Okay, here. Yeah, exactly. So obviously I use the watercolor brushes. And normally I play with the layers that at the end I will change the color. So we have this orange that if I paint with this green, I know that this green is gonna be here. It's gonna be my avocado. So with that, we understand the colors better. Normally, when I have this color wheel, I prepare this color set as a color wheel. So I have I use like these blues for my cold colors and the ruby red for my warm colors. So this is my warm color palette and this is my cold color palette. And this these inks are really special for me because it's something that I call transition colors. Something when people start doing watercolor, they add in a lot of water to the ink, trying to make it soft. But the bad thing is like they are taking off all the pigment, so that makes that when the tattoo heals 6 months later, it's gonna be super washy because you are taking off the pigment and you are putting just water with a touch of a couple drops of ink. With these inks, they are like something concentrate. So when you are adding the colors, I will show you here, and they heal. As example here, we have this. This is the exhaust, and this part. This is the exhaust, and when it heals, it's gonna still be ink. And I use like as you see here, I mix the colors, and I have a different blue in here, or with this I have a different, not just a red or the simple color that I have here, but I have a different color with the same root of colors. So with that will be the transition more natural and more the colors will flow better. I'm sorry for my English, like I need to practice. So I was playing with the orange. So all the spaces in here that I have in white, they will be ink. They will be the clear skin. So with that, when the tattoo heal, it's not gonna be oversaturated. It's just gonna be like a really natural transition between color and the clear skin. And the other thing I always want to do is like going outside the lines. That's like part of my statement to deny the traditional tattoo. When I start tattooing like this, all my colleagues and other tattoo artists, they say like, man, that's not right. Tattoo must be realistic and three-dimensional, etc., etc. And my response was like, if you don't like my tattoos, you don't have to get my tattoos. The tattoos are for the people who like these crazy things. That's the other thing. When people ask me like, what's your style? It's like, I don't know, the crazy things from Bryan. So here, I'm filling in really fast because I want to show you like at least the complement color between the greens and the red that we will have here. And see when you put in this, you will see like where we have the other here. Like we have a red in the top and some kind of blues in the bottom. I will prepare an extra layer just to see how it's gonna flow. And the other thing is like we don't have to do exactly the same color palette and the same trying to imitate reality as it is. I think you just can play and see how it's going and like make some changes. That's the good thing about digital art. You can make as many changes as you want. If you don't like this, you just finish it and erase it and start over. Something is interesting happening here, that we have just the frog, but we need to put some dark colors here. to let understand that the frog is on the top of the leaf, right? Without that, we only have something put it over there. So that's what I was talking about the importance of contrast in tattooing. I will add later some other contrast in here in color to show like these areas are darker than these areas. So this is a super fast design, but you will see later how the tattoo will be finished. So with this, I'm preparing like just a single and fast color palette. For example, I didn't like the pink on the top here. I will. Yeah, I will erase this part. I didn't like the pinks in there. But with this dark red, we can see like this part, this whole area is darker than this area or the top of the leaves. And you, with the blues that we have here, with the blues and the reds, like you can see like your eyes is here, but also your eyes, even if he's looking at here, you still can see there's something is happening here. Something is happening here in the bottom. Where we have like this. I like to play with multiply, and with that you can see the blacks better. We add a little extra of where we have the reference of the colors in here. We have a little part of greens in here in the flower, so I'm gonna use that. So you can see here that I have the lines, but I don't really exactly respect the lines how they are. I just using the dark and the light, the contrast of the between darks and light colors. And I can add an extra layer in here. Oh, sorry. And if we know that we are close to the center here, this area must be darker than this area, right? So now remember that the arm should be here. Should be here. So we only will see this part in the back, and the frog is gonna be here on the. So it's gonna be like this, pretty much like this. So you have the plants in here, and you can see a lot of details. That's gonna be the other part of the flower is gonna be in the inner part of the arm, and the composition will be like this, something like this, pretty much. And normally when I see like the other tattoos that are gonna be here, I try to see how it's gonna complement or they complement with the other tattoo. And the other thing, as example, if I know that the leaf is gonna be here, I trying to play and trying to avoid the elbow or areas that, as example, here or the inner part of the elbow that are more painful and are hard for healing, and they are not important for the composition. It's not gonna be okay if I have the frog in here, or even the frog is gonna be here, or the frog is gonna be here, because it's not gonna look okay, and it's probably gonna have a bad healing process. The healing process is gonna be more difficult, and it doesn't. You can see it doesn't look really cool if we have the frog in there. So this is pretty much like my super fast webinar about doing a frog. I think we can have a space for some questions about this process. If you have any questions, suggestions, or anything.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much. Yeah, we have a lot of questions, a lot of very interesting questions. So thank you all of who said any of your doubts or thoughts on the question panel. So let's start with AK. He asked, do you have a favorite quick tip related to Clip Studio Paint that you find especially natural or convenient to use?
A quick tip?
Yes.
Yeah, I for me, like the the best advice is like trying to make your process simple. Like right now, normally I try to avoid many layers like this because of the webinar, but I always try to keep like just 3 or 4 layers and going like having like your color palette as much simple as you want, as you can. That will be my advice. Trying to keep your process simple, even for not just for Clip Studio, but for all the creative process. And the other small thing is like I use these colors for my digital work, for my paintings, and for my murals. So if you have your process simple and the color that you use as simple as you can it's gonna be more easy to translate this frog from tattoo to a painting or to a big mural.
Awesome. Here's another one from Daniel Swiderski. Are there any special Clip Studio Paint features which help you or that you like the most preparing tattoo design?
Yeah, this G pen, I really love it because it looks so natural for me. So for me, this is like actually drawing. So for me, just explore with this brush, with the watercolor brushes and the G pen, and they will give you a lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm. And regarding to colors, Sinisa Paulik asks, are RGB colors in palette more similar to real tattoo colors than CMYK?
I didn't understand. Could you repeat, please?
If the color palettes that you work on screen are similar to what you will see on real skin, is it more similar
Okay.
to RGB or like printing?
That's a
colors?
really good question, because you can see here a lot of colors and a lot of bright colors, but especially we have a white background. When we're tattooing, we have to have focus of the skin factor. It's not the same thing since the beginning. It's not the same here that we have a white background than when we have the skin tone of each people. Like it's different, even it's different from tattooing people from US, from Asia, from South America. So we always need to think how the tattoo is gonna be and how it's gonna look in the skin tone. So normally that's a really good question, because yellow, as example, yellow is easy to disappear after a couple of years. So normally when people is going, the skin tone is being darker, I always try to avoid like these kind of colors. I always try to use the strongest colors and the contrast colors, and that's why I always keep empty areas, because when the tattoo is gonna heal, and with tattoo after a couple of years, if we lose even the tone of some colors, the tattoo will still readable. But obviously, it's gonna change since the screen to the skin. They will change a little, but you need to explore your skin tones and the tones that you like to use, and they will give you like a more natural transition between the screen and the skin.
Yes, and now that we're talking about that, there were a lot of questions regarding to different tones of skin. So as you mentioned, you avoid using some of the colors to not affect the tattoo result.
I avoid what?
If you avoid some specific colors regarding to some specific skin colors, just
Yeah,
to not mess with the result of the
yeah. As example, with dark skin tones, the first thing, and then it's something that is really respectful, and people trying to people is used to scare about doing this suggestion. Is like when somebody has a dark skin, the most wise thing and the most honest thing that you can say is asking not to use color, because color is gonna disappear. So it's like the first thing I do when I receive the picture is like, see, okay, with this skin tone, we can see that we have this skin tone is is turning a little to yellow. This is from South America. We have this kind of this skin tone that is, you can see that is really have a little touch of yellow. So I always try with this one. I won't use a lot of yellow because it's gonna disappear. So I will try to use as example. You can see like this with these reds and these kind of pinks. They're gonna have more contrast. So the most important thing is like knowing the skin that you're going to tattoo, and having that, you will prepare the composition and you will prepare the design thinking about that skin tone.
Perfect. And Brian, here's another question from A. Hakameki. Hi, your art is absolutely amazing, and it has been wonderful to follow your work process. Thank you. I wanted to ask, when you start a new piece, where do you find inspiration for new ideas and new art?
This is a really, really good question, and thank you very much. It's like, as I told you before, normally I was trying to, the first thing is like, see what people is doing and what people have. So you see like, we have like pretty much like these things that are the something that we call like, you see like this frog is the same as this frog, and they are pretty much the same. So the first thing I do is like looking for real pictures of the design that people is asking me for, and playing with that and playing with it. I have a good reference I will show you is Flickr. I like this picture, I like this page because they have a different perspective of the elements that we are doing. This is a professional photographer's website, so we have a different references and something that is not the first thing that people use in Google. And the other good source of inspiration is like books, illustration books and artist books. I always trying to go to reference of artists, and I have a lot of books, and normally I trying to do like just a quick research of colors and references and lines, and that's how I take something that is refresh my mind.
And here Mai Sagara asks, what was your most challenging piece and why?
I think lately is something that maybe people is seeing in my work is like this mural. I will show you. We're still looking at my screen, right? I will show you like this one. It was really, really challenging, and it was a big piece. So I have a lot of study before start this painting, and I start with this single thing. I preparing like small studies of how the perspective and the three-dimensional element will be. I prepare like this small scale of how the mural will be, and this is the final result. So this was it was a 6 months process, so it was a really challenging thing, but it was something cool something cool to see. You can see the scale of the people there, so I like
That's
this project.
amazing. Yeah, so yeah, as we mentioned, you are a muralist and also a tattoo. You're a multitask artist. So this is impressive how you projected the image into such a huge canvas, which is basically this industry.
And as you say, like one of the big things that we have here with the digital tools is like that helped me a lot to prepare small and fast sketches about how the big mural will be. So I was preparing perspective and trying to do something with digital tools, and that helps me a lot to prepare the final design.
And regarding to that, Brian, what's your workspace? Do you use tablet, notebook, computer?
Yeah, I will share you this, that even for if you are interested in know, is like I use Wacom, and inks I use Eternal Ink, and this is the other products that I use. So even if people is interested in know what the element that I use, but for me, Wacom is I use Wacom, I don't know, maybe 15 years, 10 years ago, since I was studying advertising. So it's like for me, Wacom is like it helps me a lot. And since I was a student studying that, I was start with other softwares, and when I find Clip Studio helps me a lot because this is really incredible for my sketch style.
And here's another interesting question from Stefania Bianco. How does copyright work with the tattoos? For example, if a client brings you an artwork which has been made by someone else and wants you tattoo it without any modifications, what do you do?
That's a really interesting question and a really interesting space for giving an advice. It's like the client is normally that the client bring you an idea that they found on internet because they are not creative, and it's not their work to be creative. It's your work. You must be creative, and you must to suggest something original to your clients. So for me, I always create my designs, all my designs, and especially because now I have a particular style and a particular signature. When people come to me, they know what I'm doing. But as example, for a traditional tattoo shop, when you have a lot of styles, the first thing is for ethical. I don't copy, or people must not copy design that they know that they are not from them, right? It's like, but the option that you have, even if your client say like, no, I want exactly like this, your job is telling your client, let me give you something exclusive for you. Let me give you something original. And I'm pretty sure that if you show to your client something original instead of something that they're found on internet, I'm pretty sure they will choose the original thing. I think everybody wants to have something original. So that's my advice. Please do not copy tattoos. Even if you don't know the tattoo, or you know the tattoo artist, is like if you don't know who did that, you know that it's not yours. So trying to create something original, and people will find you, and people will looking for you for your original things. So that's my advice. You can find a lot of people copying your tattoos. I found a lot of people, a lot of copies of my tattoos, and I don't right now. I don't really care. I always try. It's sad for me and for my client because they trying to have something original and people is copying it, but it's up to each tattoo artist. If you want to do to be something creative and somebody who is a leader, or you want to copy the tattoos that you have in the internet.
Awesome. Here's some more, it's a funnier question. what are the most painful areas to get a tattoo? Is this
That's
something that clients ask?
yeah, normally like, and that's my everyday question. Everybody all the time asking for that thing, and normally the ribs area, and people say that is the most painful area. I have a tattoo in my head, and it wasn't that painful. It was a really weird sensation, like feeling the needle in my bones, but it wasn't that painful. But the other thing I always suggest is like relax, don't fight with the pain, trying to sleep well the night before. I always recommend my clients sleep well the night before, use comfortable clothes, still hydrated, and choose the music that they want to listen. So that will make the tattoo experience more how to say more friendly. I can say that. And that if you, as example, if you don't like heavy metal and your client doesn't like heavy metal, try to not play heavy metal, because with the pain and with the music that you like, it's gonna be a bad experience. So trying to make the best experience for your client.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Bryan, so time run and we are almost finishing. One last question regarding to anyone who's willing to start into the tattooing and creating digital art for tattooing in Clip Studio Paint. What would be your advice?
Could you repeat the question, please?
What would be your advice for anyone who wants to start creating tattoos through digital art like Clip Studio Paint?
Oh, yeah, this is a really good question. And the big advice that I can share with you is use digital tools, understanding they are just tools. Don't be dependent of digital things. Still keep drawing on paper and using paint, traditional paint process, because that will make your brain still active. Because the good things about this tool is like make your process really easy, but if you're not careful, it will be make you lazy. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have energy, and your laptop or your digital tools are without energy, you have nothing. So trying to use the tools and the best for you, but that doesn't don't stop using traditional tools. That's something important to let you know. Still drawing,
Mm-hmm.
so keep drawing.
Yes, so thank you so much. With that thought, we are closing today's webinar. But before we go, we want to tell you that for more information, learn more about Clip Studio Paint, visit our website, clipstudio.net/n and graphicsly.com. And if you missed something, or if you want to share the webinar, this webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Clip Studio Paint channel and Graphicsly channel on YouTube. For more information about Bryan, his projects, and to know more of his art, visit and follow Bryan_Sánchez M on Instagram. So once again, thank you so much, Bryan, for today's webinar.
No, this was awesome. Thank you very much for letting me be part of this. I'm super happy, and thank you very much to everybody who has attended today. And yeah, please send me any question you have. Please send me to my email or to my Instagram. And thank you very much for looking at my work.
Well, thank you, Bryan. It was very insightful webinar. We learned a lot. It was really fun to watch. Again, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned with our social media for more events. So we'll see you in our next time. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you very much. See you soon. See you next time.
See you next time.
Rock and
Bye-bye.
roll.
Rock and
Bye.
roll. Bye.